Welcome to class once again. In today's class, we want to learn how to pad Armhole Princess Bustier. So first, we need to draft out the patterns for the padding. What we'll do, we'll be altering these patterns. I've aligned the patterns. Remember how we drafted this Armhole Princess Bustier pattern. So what we want to do is to carve out the area to be padded from this pattern. So the first thing you want to do, we will insert our shoulder to over bust measurements. That simply means you measure from the shoulder and stop at where your bust starts from. Okay, you measure on the person, that part. So for this my client, the bust starts from 6, so I have marked 6 inches. So after marking the 6 inches, I'm using a ruler now to take that line all across this center pattern. I can actually make it curvy, but I just want to do this first. After padding, I'll explain that curvy area. So on this side, you measure the side seam towards where the bust starts from. Okay, you know this measurement already. So for this client, it is 2 inches. So I've marked it. After that, I'll just curve it out. Okay, first of all, I'm aligning the patterns there. I'm trying to align the patterns, and then I'll curve it out like this, ensuring that the padding does not enter the armhole area. Can you see what I'm doing? Okay, you don't need to pad the armhole at all. So I just pass that way, and then I'll link it now to the underbust in a curvy format, not too curvy, but ensuring that it accommodates the bust. Okay, can you see what I'm doing? Okay, I've marked this out nicely. And also the front, we have also marked it out. So for the front, for the center area, it is simply from the overbust to the underbust. Then for this side is this curvy shape. Can you see? Underbust and overbust, and then the curvy shape. So I'll place another pattern paper underneath and trace these parts out nicely. So after tracing out, you simply label the parts. Can you see? So ensure that you note which part is the up, which part is the down, which part goes center and side. Okay, so I've simply labeled it on the curvy side, and on the center, I'm also doing the same thing. Okay, so after labeling, you simply cut out. So here we are, we have our patterns for our padding. So our fusible fleece will be cut out using these patterns. Fusible fleece, otherwise known as wording, right? Now, before we cut out our wording, let's go ahead and cut out our fabric, interfacing, lining, and the rest before we move on to cutting out the wording. So here we are, our patterns are ready. Can you see? You can still remember how we altered our basic bodies to this pattern, and here we have transferred the pattern to fabric. Okay, let me explain them one after the other. Here is the back pattern. As you can see, I have added half an inch allowance all around on the side on every part except for the center back, which I have used 1 inch because of the zipper. So 1 inch is the zipper allowance. Okay, for the neckline, the shoulder, the other parts are all half an inch. Okay, so that's for our back. Remember to place your patterns well. Remember to use pins to pin them down with the fabric. But then also you should note that I am cutting out exactly the same thing on the lining and on the ST. So here we have our side, the side back. Also the side back is 1 inch for side seam allowance. Okay, then other parts I used half an inch. So do not make the mistake. You need a side seam allowance of 1 inch because we don't want too much bulge there. We make sure we don't give allowance more than 1 inch. Okay, for our side seam allowance, right? But because during the time we were drafting our pattern, we did not add ease to the pattern, I have made use 1/4 here. So I'll be using 1 inch to sew, while I will leave 1/4 inch for the client to be able to breathe freely. So 1/4 inch is for ease. Then for the sewing allowance, 1/4 inch is for ease. The sewing allowance is 1 inch. So if you have added that 1/4 inch during your drafting, there's no need to add it to your fabric, right? So for me, I did not add it, that's why. Now the center front was cut out on fold, so all the other sides were 1/2 inch, that's 0.5 inch. Both neckline, every other part for the center front alone, because the center front is on fold. Okay, opening it up, we are having this. Okay, for the side front, we did the same thing. We added by the side 1/4 inch because of the ease allowance of 1/4 inch, then the 1 inch for sewing allowance. Okay, can you see? Just take a look at this. We are having two. So this is a lacy fabric, so we'll be using interlining for this. Okay, we'll be using interlining and interfacing. So this is our interlining blue. We have cut out this fabric in two, though the lace is not transparent, but because I want to give firmness in front, because I want to give that structure, since I'm padding it, I'll be using interlining despite the fact that the lace is not transparent. So I'm cutting out the interlining in twos. Can you see? I'm using a doll face satin for the interlining. Okay, mind you, it's not the lining, it's the interlining. Then for the lining, I'll be using a crepe fabric. So I'm cutting out twos here for the interlining two. Then for the lining of crepe, I've cut out two also. Then we have our ST. Can you see the ST? I've cut out two also. I'm using a black ST. So I've cut out two also. The same thing I have done here. Note that I have done it for all other parts. Okay. Once again, I'm taking that again. Can you see? Interlining two, lining two, then ST2. Okay, so I will do the same thing for the side back and for the side front, and then also for the center, I'll be cutting out lace, the main lace, one unfold, the interlining, one unfold, and then the lining, one unfold, also the ST, one unfold. So that is it. Our back is complete. Put it aside. So it's now time for us to work with our front. Look at the front. The front is also complete. Okay, it's time to pad, but first of all, we have drafted patterns for the wording, the fusible fleece already. So we will cut out the fusible fleece according to their patterns. So here is the front. Like I mentioned earlier, the luxury lace fabric into, the interlining into, then the lining also into. The lining is crepe, the interlining is doll face satin, and the ST is a black ST also into. So here we'll separate the lining and the main fabric, then we'll be attaching the interfacing to the interlining. That is, the interfacing, the ST, will be fused on the doll face satin. So we are fusing the ST on the doll face satin. Okay, the same thing we'll be doing for the center. So I'm simply removing the other patterns. Now, having done that, we have our fusible fleece here, our wording. Can you see? We have cut them out according to the patterns we drafted. Can you see? So this is the pattern. For the center, it was cut out on fold. It was cut out on fold. So can you see? So it is on fold. It's on fold, and I added 1/4 inch allowance for the upper parts. You can decide not to add any allowance actually for the upper parts. Then for the side, it is good you add 1 inch, or it's good you add 1/2 inch or 1/4 of an inch, because you'll be sewing the side. Will be joining the side, right, to the other part of the wording. So you need a 1/4 inch allowance for the side. Okay, you can use 1/2 inch if you are sewing with 1/2 inch. For me, I'm sewing with 1/4 inch, that area, because I'm avoiding bulge. So I added 1/4 inch. Can you see? Even on this side, I added 1/4 inch. Then for the main side, I did not add any allowance. Can you see? So I'm trimming off the excess there. I did not add any allowance there. So note that the only part you are expected to add allowance is the part at which you join the two patterns. Can you see? Only this side that you have to add allowance. If you are sewing with 1/2 inch, you add 1/2 inch. If you are sewing with 1/4 inch, you add 1/4 inch. For me, I'm sewing with 1/4 inch, so I have added 1/4 inch. I've cut out the center unfold like I mentioned earlier, then the side in twos. So this is what we are having. Okay, opening them up, this is what we are having. There's the center. You can put a notch to be able to know your center. Okay, you can decide to just separate it. Okay, you can decide to separate it so that your padding will be separate. It will give you a kind of cup, right? But for me, I do not want to separate it. I just want to pad everywhere together straight. So a single straight padding. If you have watched the video on bustier making, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, however, let's go ahead and start work. Now let's fuse interlining and interfacing. For the interlining, you just place it this way. Here is the right side of the interlining. Okay, so I'm placing the right side down. Then now the wrong side of the interlining is up, right? Here for the ST, this rough side now is where I'll place on this wrong side facing up. Okay, so the rough side of the ST is now facing the wrong side of the interlining. I hope you get that. So all you want to do now is to arrange it nicely. Okay, it has been arranged nicely. Then you go ahead and you get your hot iron. Now, as you are fusing it, you are not going to do it like this. Okay, you won't do it like this. If you do it like this, you reduce the effect of the interlining. Okay, especially if you are fusing it on a stretchy fabric, you'll be extending the stretch instead of to stop the stretch. You'll be extending the stretch. So you do not want that. If you even do it this way here on this particular fabric, which is a doll face satin, which is not even stretchy, if you do it this way, you will still be expanding or extending the fabric, making it bigger or longer than it's meant to be originally. Okay, so let's go ahead. This is what you do. Instead of like this, you do like this. Can you see? Can you see? So you force the hairstay to stay. Can you see what's happening? You're just telling it, stay here, okay? Whether that's the reason why they call it stay, I don't know. Just a joke though. So this is me using the interfacing, otherwise known as stay. We have different types of interfacings. Please note that me, I'm using an stay, okay? I want you to know how to use this because it is very vital to the finished work. Okay, at this point we have fused it all, so I'm just trying to confirm. So now let's flip it over and see what we've got. Can you see? We have fused it together. Now we are having some excess interfacings here, so at this point we trim it off. You trim the excess SD with your scissors, just like I'm doing, so that by the time you want to sew, this will not hinder how you work with your allowances. Okay, it's important to ensure neatness. Let me just go ahead and finish up this part. Can you see? So now you can actually move your iron, ensuring that everything has been fused together. Okay, but do not move it too much. You can still go ahead and try to fuse it together while being careful at the same time. Okay, So we are good. We are much good to go. We are done. So now I'll go ahead and fuse this to the same way I did here, and then we move ahead to fuse our fusible fleece. That is our wording. So to fuse the fusible fleece, let's first of all trace where we are to locate the fleece. Okay, please permit me to use fusible fleece because it's easier for me to use than wording. I don't know why. So here is our wording. Here is our underboss point. Here is the underboss point. As you can see, it takes this shape. Okay, so you know your underboss point. Now we are aligning. If you can remember, this part was drafted from the underboss, so this should be aligned from the underboss area. Okay, and here, if you can see well, this is the shiny part of the fusible fleece. You will be placing it on the wrong side of the facing. You can remember this is the wrong side of the facing. Now we have fused our ST on it already, so the shiny part of the wording should be placed on the wrong side of the fabric. If can you see? So this is how we are going to fuse it. Then for this and this, we will still use our pattern. We want to trace where is side and where is up and down. Can you see? This is up, this is down, this is side. That means since this is a shiny part, it should be like this. Okay, this is the underbust. Align it accordingly. Can you see? Remember, we add allowances here, so it aligns with the fabric nicely. So automatically, this goes to this part. This is it. So this is what we want to fuse. Now, how to fuse it? You are not to fuse it directly like this on this part. It will take you time. It will not fuse fast. Even if you place a fabric on top of this and start fusing, it will take you a lot of time. So to do it faster, you just flip it over. Let's demonstrate with this. You can pin it down before flipping it over, okay, to ensure accuracy. Let's take it again. So this is how it should be by the time we're done. So this is it, aligned. Okay, now you have to fuse from this part. Okay, you must be very careful here. So you're also still fusing with the same process, the same way we fuse the ST. Your iron must be very hot to give you what you want. Can you see? We have successfully fused it. Okay. To ensure it stays very strongly, you can go in again with your very hot iron. Okay. So we are done with this and we are having this. Okay, this is an excess. We'll trim it off. Now I'll follow the same process to do this. For this, you pin yours down. If you know you have errors, pin it down before you flip it over. Okay, so I flipped mine over. I'm sure it is accurate, but then I'll still go in and check. Okay, it is. It is aligned to the underbust area. That's a very important thing. I'm fusing in no particular order, okay? Now you may be wondering, why did I even use stay in the first place? This is to give stability on the neckline area, okay? But for this area, stay wasn't necessary because we are already fusing a wording, all right? But to give the neckline area, so you need your stay to give stability to the neckline, okay? If you can remember quite well, while I was explaining the transfer to fabric of the wording, I gave quarter-inch for sewing allowance. Hence, there is this excess. Okay, we have excess of quarter-inch on the both parts that we have fused already. So we are to trim off the quarter-inch excess. So we know that the sewing allowance is quarter-inch and not half an inch anymore. Okay. Quarter-inch is being trimmed off. We'll do the same on both sides. So that is it. We have fused, can you see? Well fused, this and this. I'll go ahead and fuse the last one, then we'll continue. And now we are basically done fusing our fusible fleece, our wording, can you see? And also we are done trimming excesses. And this is what we are having. Okay, can you see the beauty? If you note well, the padding did not extend to the armhole area. Okay, can you see? It just ends where your bust ends. We measured and we stopped here. Okay, so this is it. From the armhole area, you measure this way and you stop. You know your measurements. On the client's body, this is what we got. The difference between here and here was 2 inches. So here is the allowance. From here, you measure to this part is 2 inches. On this side, the same thing. Okay, so that is it. We are done with this. We are now proceeding to the sewing process. But before we sew, I'll go ahead and fuse the stay to the other parts of our fabrics. Okay, I'll do all the fusing. I've shown you how to fuse. I've shown you the major thing you are expected to do. So we'll go ahead and sew. Now, what we are mainly sewing is our lace. So we'll be placing this lace now on this facing like this. Or you can also use your hemming gum to place it and gum it together. You can also use your pins to pin it together. For me, I like using stay stitches. Stay stitches, that is, I just use my machine simply. I stitch the lace and the facing together to make it one fabric. I do this on all patterns. Okay. So I'll do that and then we'll go ahead and start sewing. Once again, dear creatives, welcome to class. Let's now sew padded bustier, padded armhole bustier. So here are the patterns. Can you see? So the first thing we want to do is to insert stay stitches to make the lace and the interlining one single fabric. So just watch me as I sew. And here we are with a single fabric. Can you see? So this is the concept. I'll do exactly the same thing to the sides, okay? To all other patterns, to this side of the front and then also to the back before we proceed to sewing our dress. Now here we are simply done. Can you see? Okay, so we have our single pattern. What we will now do, we start sewing. The very first thing you want to do while sewing is to align the underbust together. Okay. Here I was trimming off excess. I do not want any form of excess. Okay. Excess fabric. Can you see? So the underbursts are aligned together. What you need to do now is to pin them together. You need to pin this underburst together, side to center. Can you see? In the process, you are aligning the fusible fleece too to stay together in the same position. Okay, can you see this? I've done that, and then you go ahead and start sewing. In this case, I'm using 1/4 inch, so I'll be sewing with 1/4 inch now. So I'm joining gently with 1/4 inch. Can you see? Gently. By the time I get to where the pin is, I simply remove the pin. Okay, and continue stitching, ensuring that the fusible fleece are aligned together on both patterns. Okay. So one thing you must check is to ensure that no allowance comes out more than the other. The allowances must align together. That's when you get it perfectly right. Just watch what I'm doing. I'm simply sewing. Can you see? So my pattern is beautifully aligned. I'll just follow suit and sew till I'll get to the end. So just watch me. Can you see? So I'm at the end. I'll back stitch, then bring it out. Let's now check what I've gotten now. But before we flip over and check, we need to clip down all the very curvy areas, especially the underbust area. Can you see? Clipping, I'm just going in with my scissors, cutting through that area, but ensuring I do not cut through the stitch. Okay, I'll just cut close to the stitch but not on the stitch. Okay, now I'm just trimming off excess. You do not need any form of excess in that area. So before you even clip, you need to trim off your excess to make the allowance very small. Okay, so I've done that. So after doing that, I'll just continue clipping to ensure that that area relaxes very nicely and beautifully. Okay, I do not want any form of bulge there, so I'm taking this very practical step to ensure that the bust area appears nice. Can you see? Can you see this? So let's flip it over. Can you see it from the inside? See how beautiful. For this upper part, you can decide to cut off the wording. Okay, you can decide to still leave it. For me, I'm leaving it that way. Can you see? Can you see what we have gotten? We have our bust created already beautifully. So that is it. I'll follow the same process. Can you see how the line is? Can you see how well aligned it is? So I'll follow the same process and do the same thing on this side. Here we are. I'm done joining both sides. On the inside, this is how it is. Can you see the area? For here, this is where I was talking about. You can cut it off. Can you see? So this is so because of the extra allowance I added. I wouldn't have added any allowance. While you are doing yours, avoid adding that 1/2 inch that I added on mine. Okay, I added 1/4 inch. You can avoid that, but it's still very nice and beautiful. Can you see it? I greatly recommend this style for people that are really busty. So with this, you do not need any form of bra. You just wear it. It packs up your bust and that is it. You are good to go. So this is how to pad Armhole Princess Bustier. Can you see? It's so nice from any angle. Can you see the bust? We have created the bust in readiness for our clients to wear. Now we have our back. Can you see? So I have also joined the back the same way. Can you see? The back is easier to join because it is less curvy. So I have joined it and also I have clipped nicely to make it relax. So we have our back and front patterns ready. It's time for us to join back and front patterns. We'll first join by the shoulder and then by the sides. Here I am joining the shoulders. Mind you, I'm sewing this side with 1 inch allowance, okay? Now, dear creatives, we are simply done. Can you see? So we are basically done with our Armhole Princess Bustier padding. So this is it. This is what we are having. I'm actually making a long gown, so this part will be attached to the skirt part of the gown, a peplum long gown. But also note that I have my lining here. I also created the lining exactly the same way with the front, except for the fusing of interfacing and fusible fleece. So there was no fusible fleece, there was no interfacing, but I sewed it the same way, and also I did the clipping the same way. Okay, let me clip through here. I've not clipped this side, so I'll simply clip so that it will also relax nicely, and I will attach it to the main body. To join the fabric and the lining, we'll be joining on the neckline area. So you can do well to pin yours down, aligning the shoulders first. Can you see? I'm aligning the shoulders, the shoulder of the main fabric and the shoulder of the lining, the seam line on the shoulder. Okay, you can pin yours down to make it stay in place before you continue sewing. So here I'm simply stitching with 1/2 inch of allowance. I'm starting from the back neckline. I'll stitch all the way through the front neckline and then turn over to the back, to the other back neckline. Now, depending on how you want to fix your zipper, you can decide to allow the zipper allowance area open. But for me, I'll be closing that area. It's a peplum gown, so I'll be fixing the zipper straight on that area. So I need to close it first. So I've closed the zipper allowance area. This is not part of the breast padding tutorial, so already you know what to do when it comes to your breast padding. Okay, so I simply finish up this dress and then you see the outcome. Now I'm also done closing the zipper allowance on both sides. It's now time for me to clip the neckline all through. I'm also done clipping the neckline, and this is our finished dress. Can you see? Okay, this is the finished bustier top, not the main dress. Can you see? Our bustier top is ready, so nicely padded. No need for ready-made bra cup, no need for bra. You can just put it on like this beautifully and the effect will be there. Okay, so now I will wear it on my mannequin so that you see the effect on the mannequin before you see it on my client later on. Now, note that my mannequin is tall. The owner of this dress is not tall, so you might not see the exact effect you need to see, but be patient. You just see it on the mannequin first, then you see the final results on the original owner. Okay, so see the beautifully padded bust area. So here is the finished dress on the mannequin. Take a look at the style line, the princess dart line. Can you see how beautifully finished it is? It's so neat. This is how I want yours to be by the time you are done doing yours. Take a look at the neckline, nicely finished. The princess dart on this side. So it is well padded and still neatly finished. I used a peplon, a 720-degree peplon on the dress, a very little mermaid shape. So this is it. Do yours and ensure it's better.